Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the first episode of Season 7 of Rho Pi Gamma, the Gamers Podcast, Take 2. Because, lo and behold, we had tech issues. Yay! So, we're having to do this again. But anyway, we are back.
Tech issues have to be really, really bad for us to have to redo an entire podcast. That's impressive.
Yeah. Thankfully, we've only had to redo a couple of episodes, one of which was, of course, because I forgot to hit record. But that wasn't the case this time. This time, unfortunately, the recording program I was using had apparently updated and changed in the 6 to 8 months since we last did this. And apparently did something that it cut out on us, and then the muting didn't work the way it used to, and I not to really toot my own horn, I'm a pretty decent editor when it comes to both audio and video, and I couldn't save this shit. The best editor in the Hollywood editors couldn't have saved this shit. So, but we're here, we're re-recording, and our lineup now, and unfortunately we do have. We are going to try to streamline this episode a bit because we've got a lot to cover. I am, of course, with, who is usually our co-host, Howard, to do intros. However, you're not the co-host today, Howard, by your own request. So, to have a co-host, I brought up a good friend of ours. It's been on the podcast before, but it has been a while.
Yeah, it has.
So JD will be my guest co-host for today.
Yep.
So welcome on, man. It's good to have you back.
Thank you. Yep, it's good to be back.
So, and the reason I'm having to do this is because Howard actually requested to be interviewed for the podcast, and B, because it's kind of hard to interview yourself. So, it wouldn't exactly be right to have him as the co-host, and while we're interviewing him.
Challenge accepted?
No, at least not this episode.
I'd like to cross-examine myself, please.
Any man,
request permission to treat the witness as hostile. You are the witness.
Any man who defends himself, has an idiot for a lawyer and a fool for a client.
Yeah, pretty much
something like that.
So. But also, because we're actually going to be doing 2 interviews today. Because we're also joined by an absolutely wonderful woman and great comic artist, Chella.
Hello, good morning.
So yeah, let's just get right to it. Now, normally we would be going with what we've been doing in gaming, but A, because of time restraints, and B, because I've been doing a shit ton of gaming.
Yeah.
We're just kind of make this short and sweet, since we've already already tried to do this once. I know, like I said, I've been doing a bunch of gaming, a lot of which has been me actually playing instead of GMing, which I've been very happy for. I am still GMing a few games, but and I've got a few more on the horizon. But it's been very nice to actually sit on the other side of the GM screen, because I know I tend to bitch and moan that I don't play as much as I'd like. Well, I'm getting that in. I'm actually very happy and content with how much I've been playing recently. So and I thank all the various GMs that are running me in those games to allow me to do that. So yay. And Howard, I know you've been doing, of course, a shit ton of Shinetar, because that's what you do. I couldn't remember, you haven't really been doing much of anything in any other game though, right?
Shinetar mostly. A little bit of Pathfinder with Ricky.
That's right.
Just for fun. That's been entertaining, going back to Pathfinder.
Yeah.
I'm also spawning a bunch of spin-off games for my game. This is the first time I've ever really had straight up spin-offs. So I actually I have spin-off games. GMs at my table who are now going to run other games elsewhere, but are going to be tied directly into my plot line.
You suck.
But running their own. I have spin-offs, man. Like,
you
straight
suck.
up.
Just, you know what? Shut up.
So, Chella, how are you doing in gaming?
Let's see. I've been looking for my bag of dice for the last 5 years,
Oh, wow.
so maybe I'll find them while I pack boxes to move.
Or hopefully, at the very least, when you unpack after you've moved.
Perhaps. You never know.
Yeah. So obviously you haven't been doing much gaming recently.
No, not at all, unfortunately. When you are flying by the seat of your pants, there's not a lot of room for gaming, however. But I discovered the D6 system about a couple of years ago, and then that's actually how you and I began talking, because that I was so interested in it. And when I found out that you love the D6 system, I really wanted to talk about it and get involved.
Well, I'm very happy that we made that connection, and we can we can actually go over that here in a minute. And
Excellent.
So what?
I said excellent.
Oh, okay. And JD, I know, like, for a time you hadn't been doing much gaming, but you had said in the last recording that you actually have gotten into a group or two, though they don't meet often.
Yeah, it's we're all just slightly scattered, and so we come together every once in a while and do some gaming. We were doing some Cyberpunk. Now we're doing some Seventh Sea. And I'm a computer science student, and so just to kind of keep my programming skills fresh, I kind of fell on gaming, and I'm kind of writing a text-based program using D&D as kind of the framework for the program.
Cool.
I don't know. It's just kind of like one of those bottom drawer kind of projects.
Hey! Sometimes those are what make or break a person.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they do.
Yeah, as to say, I know Howard can speak from I think experience, if not at least secondhand.
Can I interject that every time he says 7th Sea, I get happy? I don't even play the system, but I love the universe, and every time I hear you're playing 7th Sea, the fact that game is still being played makes me giddy. Thank you. Sorry, I have to say that. I love the universe.
Why?
Because you can buckle your swash. I mean, like, how often do you get to buckle a swash? I don't usually buckle my swash. Do you?
That sounds like a personal problem, and we're just going to move right along from there. All right.
I only buckle my swash in polite company.
You know what, guys? This is not that kind of role play, all right?
We really need to do that one. We really need to have that episode.
We're going to have to put a freaking advisor in front of that one, but anyway.
Oh, yes, definitely.
All right, so Season 7, if anyone is listening to this episode that has listened to even the last 2 to 3 seasons, much less the last 6, they know full well that we do try we try different things, if not every season, every couple of seasons. We always try to change things here or there to see if it something really works or if it doesn't. Sometimes it's stuff that you can see and hear immediately in the terms of the structure of the episode, what type of things we cover, or the blog and when we started going on YouTube. Some things it's stuff you don't necessarily see a lot of because it happens in the background. There was a time we tried to do every week, but there was a time where when Liz was still my co-host, we tried to do every other week, and we tried different things, different programs. Pardon me. Different recording programs, different hosting sites and stuff. So we always try to do something different. And this season we have got I am apparently I don't know what it is, but partially it's Howard and Chella. You're to blame for a lot of this too.
I am.
I'm being a rather ambitious bastard this season because there's going to be a lot of changes this season. You're not going to see them necessarily so much by this episode, but definitely by the next one and so on. And one of those main changes is we're going to be changing up the structure of the episode some. One of which being is thanks to Chella. I've found a new recording program that not only does audio but it can do video, and it does it well and relatively easy from what I've seen so far. I still need to mess with it. But that's going to allow us then to be able to record more often when we do stuff on Roll20. So because like the season finale for last season was like the first time we'd ever actually recorded like full video and posted it with the episode when we did the bare bones challenge for our season finale. Now with this new program, we should be able to handle things, much easier. So we'd be able to do more episodes like that. Because of that, I have decided, because one of the things we've always wanted to do at Rho Pi is actually more gaming, more actual, like, not just talking about a system, but showing it, running through a character generation, running through an actual like small adventure, because that's really the way you really learn a new system, is to actually play it. I mean, you can read the books till Doomsday, backwards and forwards, cover to cover, and still not really know the system until you've actually started throwing the dice. And hopefully everyone here can agree with me on that.
Yeah, that's the way I do most things. You don't learn it till you actually do it.
Yep. So one of the things I'm wanting to do this season is actually to start up a Rho Pi game. I'm actually with Howard. I'm going to be grabbing a few other players, some experienced, some greenhorns, so we can actually get like a full spectrum of things. I've got a campaign setting I'm whipping up. We're going to be doing Pathfinder, which, at least last time I checked, is still the number one freaking system out there. System and setting out there. Yay! as much as I'm a D6 Nazi, I am really falling in love with Pathfinder. I'm sorry. Whoa.
Bless you.
Bless you. Who was that? JD, was that you?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Bless you. That's okay. So, but we're actually going to be doing an actual Rho Pi game. I'm calling it a Call for Heroes. And we're going to try to do that. Like every other post we do is going to be like, Howard and I are going to do a topic one week, and then I'll post up a section. I'll be recording a session, and I'm actually hoping I can get a couple of episodes per session, considering how long a gaming session usually lasts. And then so I'll be able to post those up every other week. And so hopefully that'll work out really well. And it'll also allow, because some of the stuff I'm wanting to do with it will, it'll be nice to actually, because Howard and I can sit here and yap about a topic till Doomsday, but it's sometimes good to actually kind of put your money where your mouth is. And I'm gonna, hopefully be doing some stuff in the game that'll actually showcase a lot of what Howard and I have covered in episodes and seasons past, in the terms of being a good GM, being a good player, yada yada yada. So that is one of our big major changes. Another one, which actually will bring us back to Chella, is thanks to this wonderful fucking woman, you will be seeing Rho Pi at a new website, brand new website, domain. It's not going to be rhopigamma.wordpress.com. We're actually going to be rhopigamma.com. I think you also got, what was it, like rpgpodcast.com?
Yes, that's correct. So it'll be accessible by both URLs in case you can't remember the name.
and she did that one like on her frickin' own. Like she was just like, "Oh yeah, I secured this domain for you," and da da. I was just like, "I had a domain," and okay. And then okay. So how we met was you were actually helping my wife Liz, who used to host with us, redesign her website for her webcomic Adrastus, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And while Liz was going through and showing me what Chella was just like, literally, Liz was just like, she just whipped this up on a whim. She was like I just talked to her like the other day, and she's already got all of this, and she was showing it to me, and I was like, holy hell. So, and I was just sitting there, I was like, wow, I wonder if she'd be like, willing to do something for Rho Pi. And I think she mentioned that you were a gamer. as well, or something like that. And I was like, contact info now.
And that's exactly how I felt when she says that, you would be interested in talking to me about gaming. I was like, give me the email address right now. I'm sending you an email. You have to give it to me right now.
So you and I talked, and we had talked about, we actually came up with an agreement. You do the Rho Pi website for me, and then I would do, because you were interested in making the webcomic you do, among other things that you do, but you do a webcomic. I believe it was you who said that you would like to actually turn it into an RPG setting, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, and of course, so I was like, I can do that. It's like that okay. So that's kind of the agreement that, the bartering that we have. She's doing the website. I'll do her an RPG setting. So, wow. Okay, completely just derailed there. Where was I going with that? So
it's all right. So that's actually how you currently ended up with the soon-to-be new website for Rho Pi Gamma,
which might actually be up by the time this episode posts, because it depends on just when the heck I can actually get to editing this episode too.
Yes.
So
those are my intentions.
And you're doing this like while working a job, having a child, and moving. So
and talking to you right now, actually. Yes, I'm coding and talking to you at the same time.
Oh, for the love of! Damn. All right. See, the freaking Supergirl here. But now there's one question we always ask when we're interviewing someone. I realize this hasn't quite been a full interview, and I apologize, but
no worries.
How did you get into gaming?
It began in high school. We had a group of friends who wanted to game, and we thought it was a good idea. So the governing nerd at the time decided to get into the D20 system with D&D, and we began gaming. We all started a very simple campaign, which involved all of us fighting a group of kobolds, and escalated from there.
Those darn pesky kobolds.
Yep. and part of the reason why I ask that of everyone we interview is it's always interesting to see how different people get into it, although there is a very common theme, and through most of which it's usually high school or college. Someone, either someone introduced them to this neat thing, or a group was just like, hey, we heard about this, let's get into it.
Exactly. That's when the baptism begins.
Usually.
Exactly. Usually, yes, I agree.
Usually. As we'll learn from Howard here in a moment, doesn't always work that way. at least with Howard's, it was a bit of a twist, because when it comes to me getting someone into it, it tends to be a bit more direct. So, what's up, JD?
I was gonna say, yeah, you were like, hey, Howard, I got some candy. Come right over to my room.
Not quite. Although
it was pizza, not candy.
Yes, totally.
No, actually, I didn't even need that. No, my friend Matt, like, literally, he was, the way we became friends was he was standing around in a gaming store, and I was about to start one of my games, and I was like, he was like, what? I was like, you want to play? He was like, sure, and it literally just went from there. So, but Chella, I do want to thank you immensely because again, I've seen the preview site a couple times already, and everything you are doing and willing to do, because I mean, honestly, some of the stuff that I know you're doing or have done, I thought was either much more work than I would have asked you to have done, or just freaking amazing. Bottom line. So I thank you immensely for everything you're doing for Rho Pi, because honestly, you are helping push us to where I've wanted the podcast to go for years, but I either didn't have the resources or the knowledge to be able to do so. So
you're very welcome. That was, my intention the entire time, because you need to be able to reach an audience.
Yeah, more than the like 15 we jokingly say we have.
Yeah.
Nowadays. Well, I just hope that like when the table finally turns and I'm working on your setting, I can do as good of a job with that as you are with this, because you're to me you're setting the bar pretty fucking high. Thanks.
Well, well, you have to step up to the occasion. You have to keep up. You have to level up. So that's
you
the challenge.
Oh, you just had to bring gaming into it like that, didn't you? Oh, go ram it. All right.
But ultimately, you're very welcome, and I know that you will do an excellent job.
Well, I hope so. So, all right. So, now that we have covered that, Howard.
Yes.
Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
All right. So, first and foremost, why the f are we interviewing you?
Well, because I have reached a sort of a turning point in my life, which has a direct bearing upon the podcast, and you're in my future together. Not to put too fine a point on it.
All right, fair enough. I suppose that is reason enough.
Poke him with that fine point.
What was that, JD?
Said poke him with that fine point. It might keep him focused.
Gee, thanks.
No, I've tried everything. Nothing keeps him focused. But
screw you.
But no, I have entered the world of authorship. I am now a paid writer, which
I hate you.
I honestly never thought I would say those words, but I am a paid writer. Gaming in particular.
Okay, I really hate you.
For the moment, my intention was always to write fiction. But
but you kind of are.
Well, yeah, but my intention was to write novels eventually. And I may never get there. But then again, I said that about this. So who knows where I'll be in 5 or 10 years? I just keep working hard, keep climbing the ladder, and one of these days.
Another thing that you said would never happen, that actually did. I remember beating you over the head with.
Yes.
This to JD and Chella, this boy, when I first met him, was like, I will never fall in love. Will never happen. Never gonna get married. Not gonna. And I was just like, yeah, okay. He's now happily married for, I think, longer than I have been, and has now an almost 2-year-old. So
I will say that came as a surprise.
Didn't to me.
Which is one of the few things that escapes my calculation, but apparently love has a tendency to do that, unfortunately.
And that's why I knew.
But as far as the writing, though, this has actually been my plan all along. The reason I say I didn't know if it would become to fruition was more because stuff like this requires hard work and a healthy dose of pure dumb luck.
Yep. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I think we talked about it last, you had said this was like the fruition of like 15 years of work.
Yes. Yeah, I started, like I said, really writing back in college, and I have worked in various capacities writing for various things for 15 years. But it's only been in the past about 3 that I've had any remote traction.
Well, that's good. You gotta hone the craft.
That's the truth. And I've had a lot of people we talked about. I mean, people have talked about this. And people ask me, well, how do you do it? And I said, well, you work all the time. You write all the time. You take every crappy job you can get in the industry, and you sweep the floors, literally, figuratively, and literally, until you get where you want to be in life.
I actually saw a thing on Facebook recently. It was Stephen King and George R. R. Martin, like being interviewed.
Yeah.
And George
Yeah.
R. R. Martin, he was looking at Stephen King. He's like, you write so many books. Like I mean, like Stephen King is like literally just cranking out. Like the only other author I think that produces more is more often is like freaking Nora Roberts, but
Yeah.
because I literally think she's a freaking machine. But George R. R. Martin was like, you produce so much stuff. It's like don't you have those days where you just like you sit there and you just can't get. He was like, how do you do it? And Stephen King was just like, I write. He's like, I'm always writing. I sit down every day. I write and I just write. And George R. R. Martin's like, how do you do that? Because he's like, don't you have days where you just like, you sit down, you can't get anything out. You try writing some and it doesn't flow, feels like crap. You put it away, come back a couple months, try it again. And Stephen King was just like, no. He's like, I write always, everything, every day. And that's part of how he's producing so many books, and everyone's waiting on George R. R. Martin's next.
No, and there's a lot of truth to that. I am not even remotely at either one of those gentlemen's level, but I do know from personal and bitter experience that you have to write. Because I remember, God, it was probably like 10 years ago. Every time a writer was coming into the town where I was or nearby, and they were doing some sort of interview or whatever, I would always go, because I figured if I could get close enough to other professional writers, it would rub off. Never worked, but that was.
But it didn't hurt, I'm sure, but
no, it didn't hurt. But I remember one where they asked them, how do you how do you do this? How do you become a writer? And their response was one of the most apropos was, you write. And it sounds stupid. It's like, well, of course you write. I mean that's how you do. If you want to bake, if you want to be a baker, you bake. But that's not what they're talking about. It's more fundamental than that. I know a lot of people who are like, I am a writer, I want to be a writer, I'm an aspiring writer, and you say, well, what do you write? What have you written? And they're like, well, I haven't had anything published. I didn't ask what you got published. What have you written? And then they look at you and they're like, well, I'm tinkering with it. And I'm like, no. What have you written? And you can't do it without writing. To be a writer, you have to write, even if it's crap. As a matter of fact, years ago, I gave my father a story that I'd written, and he read it, and he was like, "That's not bad." And that was when my father said, "It's not bad." That's where I knew that my skill had transitioned from the completely, utterly inane and no one cares about to the mildly amusing phase. And I was stuck in the mildly amusing phase for like 10 years. But no, I mean, you laugh, but it's true.
No, well, and also like knowing your dad. I mean, like, this is okay. Like from your dad is like almost high praise.
It's almost high praise, but no, but you work at it, you keep honing, and the truth of the matter is I am still a rank novice. I still have decades ahead of me of honing my craft, and every time I write, I get better. So who knows in 10, 20, 30 years, if I live that long, what I'll be able to do, what I'll be able to produce. But the only way to do it is to write. And here's the other thing. And this is something that's really, really, really important if anyone's interested in getting involved in this. Quit with the excuses.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it on this podcast what I have to go through to write, but let me put it in perspective this way. I have a full-time job that I work 5 to 6 days a week for my father, construction. I take care of my daughter all afternoon because my wife works nights, which means I have my daughter from the time I get off home to the time my wife gets home, usually after midnight. I work a full-time job and I take care of my daughter every night, all night until about midnight. My wife also works weekends. The only day she has guaranteed off is Sunday. So the question is, when do I find time to write?
Whenever you friggin' can.
Exactly. You write in every moment I have to write, I write. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, if you want to be a writer, if you want to be anything, a writer, musician, whatever it is, if you ever get into a situation where you find yourself saying, "Well, I would, but I would, but I was busy," or "I would, but I got my job," "I would because my family," "I would, but my kid," the minute those words come out of your mouth, you might as well give it up, because you have to be dedicated to the whatever your craft is, and writing especially, in my opinion. You just have to be willing to push through the barriers, like you were talking about, like the author said.
I've got an addendum to that.
Yes.
If I may.
Go ahead.
You not only have to write, you do have to show what you're writing to someone.
Yes.
Because I know quite a few people that have like full blown novels, manuscripts, like done, but they're too afraid to show it to anyone, and that unfortunately you need the feedback, because with anything, if you're going to get better at something, you can't self judge, because then what boundaries are you pushing? What lines are you crossing?
Never understood that, and I know a lot of people like that. I'll tell them I do writing. They're like, "Oh, I write too," and I'm like, "What do you write?" Like, "I write books or I write fiction." And I'm like, "Oh, I'd love to read your stuff sometime." Like, "Oh, I don't show it to people." I'm like, "Then why?" Well, I guess you're writing for yourself, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you want to be an actual writer and get paid for it, you're eventually gonna have to show it to someone. I mean, people aren't gonna pay for stuff they don't read.
Yeah. It's not like you can sell them a book. It's like, "Oh, here you go. Oh, please never read it."
I don't know. I've got a couple magazine subscriptions. I'm like that.
Wow, JD for the win.
Fair enough. All right. So I mean, you said that the writing you're doing, you have done fiction, but the writing you're doing, or at least what part of the reason why you're excited about all this and why we're doing this is gaming writing.
Correct.
Specifically. So, like, what specifically because I'm guessing you're getting published. I mean,
yes.
Obviously. So, like, what do you have that you are being published in, or that you are getting published? What tell?
Well, okay, so the main reason I'm on this podcast is the book that's coming out, which is the Alarin source book for Shintar, which is the Savage World setting. If you go to Shintar.com is our website, and then of course Savage Mojo is the publication company, and the Alarin book will be coming out very much soon. It was done; it was in its finished format, and then I just got permission because of some changes in the company to expand it and improve it.
Oh wow!
So I'm actually in the process right now of expanding and improving it and making it even more epic. Because when I wrote it, I was given a very strict deadline as far as words go, and that's the hardest thing for a writer. For my opinion, is deadlines are one of the hardest things because they always come fast.
Yeah.
But the other thing is you have to write for somebody else. Because right now I'm writing for other people, which means I have to follow their rules, do what they want me to do, and it's difficult as a writer because it's your baby.
Well, but it's difficult for any artist.
Right. Like writing or draw like art on commission. But I just recently was given permission to expand it and amplify it and make it better. So I had a lot of things that I had to cut out for the original submission that I'm folding back in. So I'm scrambling to make it better. But that's the book that I specifically want to be interviewed for, because I will be I am the primary author. That'll be the first book that I am in fact the primary author on. Not only that, was originally I was doing the writing and someone else was doing the stat. Okay. That's how it was originally set up.
Okay.
But one of the changes over in the company is I am now doing all stats for the books, which means when the Alarin books come out, I will be the primary author and writing the stats, which means it'll be all me.
Nice. Cool.
So this will be this book. Other than writing credits to Sean Patrick Fanian, the creator, because obviously I've used his ideas, and so he gets writing credit because some of the stuff I pull verbatim from his notes.
Yeah.
The man is a creative genius. It'll be 100% me. Now that being said, it's interesting. It is fascinating to me that the podcast messed up and that we had to do it this weekend, because last weekend this was in the future, but this weekend this is in the past. The first book of which I'm an author on came out Friday.
Really?
Cool.
Yes, the Wildlands book. It's all over. I posted on Facebook. But yes, my first published work came out this past Friday.
Cool.
So I'm now a printed, published, and paid author.
Nice.
And of course, Wildlands is one of the source books of this Shintar universe. And the Wildlands is the one that I'll be doing, that I did stats for, and also did some writing entries.
Okay. So, well, damn, yeah. Well, then I'm actually kind of glad we had the tech issues.
A little bit.
For last time, because that's obviously we'll try to get links to everything. As I always try to put links as to what discussions or interviews that we talk about for the posts of the episode. And I know that we interviewed Sean Patrick Fannin, the creator of Shintar, at least a season or so ago.
Mm-hmm. During actually two seasons ago, because it was during his Kickstarter.
That's right. So now,
you okay?
Well, we've obviously I had a set of questions, but we've bounced around a lot, so which is okay. I'm just it's throwing me off my game a little. Now, how did you get into Shintar, and what made you want to use Shintar to be what made you want to get so involved with it to the point of writing for it?
That's where that pure dumb luck comes into play, actually. And it's weird, because if I wasn't doing the work for no pay and absolutely, for no other reason than I had a passion for it, I never would have had the opportunity to get involved with the project. But getting involved in the project was, in fact, pure dumb luck. So it's one of those things where if I hadn't been working hard, I wouldn't have had the opportunity. But the opportunity didn't come necessarily because I was working hard. It came just because I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was working for my brother Brian at MomoCon. He's the director of gaming at MomoCon. This was about 3 years ago, and before that MomoCon, he had come up to me and he'd been like, "Hey, I want you to meet a friend of mine, a guy, or well, more of an acquaintance. They're more of acquaintances, but someone in the gaming industry. He's a writer. He's doing his own book. He's doing a Kickstarter, and I know you want to get into writing, so you might want to talk with him. I'll try to hook you guys up." Well, I was like, "That's great," and it didn't work out at all. As things happen, we all got busy. So we got to the very end of the con, the last day of the con, and I was actually running Legend of the Five Rings, because I also work for AEG in Gen Con and other places, and I also demo and play test for them and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, I was there, and anyway, this guy walks in and he sits down, and I'm in the middle of gaming, and he said basically, he's like, "Look, I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to watch. I'm Sean Fannin." And so he did. He sat there, watched my game for like an hour. Didn't say anything, didn't interrupt, just watched. And then finally, he just sort of nodded and he said, "Okay." And he gets up. He said, "Look, I was going to go ahead and leave, but I really want to talk to you after this. So I'm going to go over to the sort of like the gaming green room. That's where the gaming ops, or the room off of gaming ops." And he said, "I'll be there. I'll stay a little bit after to talk with you." So I was like, "Okay." So I finished up my game, scrambled, got my stuff together, walked in there, and he's just sitting there waiting for me, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And we sat down, and he's like, "Well, tell me about yourself. Tell me, what it is that you want to do." And so I launched into it, because you know me, any opportunity to network, I'm going to use.
Yeah.
And
you're actually rather good at that.
Thank you. I try. It's one of the only ways to be successful.
Yeah.
But anyway, he listened to me for a little while, and he said, "Well, he said, here's what I'm trying to do." He said, I've been gaming. I've been in the industry. I've been a writer in the industry for the last like 20, 30 odd years. I'm doing my own Kickstarter. He said, "I want to bring you on board." He said, "I watched you running games, and he said, I like your style. I like your enthusiasm. I like your style. You obviously are experienced. So come on board. You help me. I can't pay you, but I'll give you experience and I'll pay it forward. And if there's an opportunity in the future for you to write for us, I'll make sure to give you that opportunity. If you're willing to put in the work for me for no pay, when the opportunity comes, I'll open the door for you to write." Which that was the best offer I'd ever had. Most people barely even gave me the time of day, but this guy, like, legit
Howard?
opportunity. Yeah, hang on.
Well, this is
Am I back?
Yeah, legit.
Yeah, this was the best offer I'd ever had. So I went. I said yes. And I started. I got in it right when the Kickstarter started. My family had only seen me playing games online or playing games with friends. None of them really, except my father, none of them really had a concept that this was actually going to be for money someday. I kept telling them I was going to get paid eventually, but they never believed me.
Of course.
So when I go to my wife and I'm like, "Hey, I met this random dude at the con, and I want to spend a lot of money on a book that hasn't been written yet," she was less than thrilled. But we negotiated, and she allowed me to back it at the small, and of course, I mean, money is tight, so she, and I understand her skepticism. I'm not doubting that. But anyway, I backed it at the lowest level, and then joined his team. And my first job for his team was data entry, basically plugging in information to the website. But here's the key: every time the organization, Evil Beagle Games, every time they ask for volunteers for any project, I raised my hand. They needed help building the website, I raised my hand. They needed data entry, I raised my hand. They needed someone to monitor the forums, I raised my hand. I did anything and everything they asked me to do for 2 years. And as time went on, I got experience. I learned the system. I learned the industry, and I just sort of worked my way up. And I just kept climbing and working. Mind you, for no pay, working 20 plus hours a week on top of my job and my family. And true to his word, last year, they were doing the source books, and they said, I came to the group last year and I was like, "Hey, do you think I might build you the Alarin book? I'm something of a subject matter expert." And they kind of thought, it was one of these things where they're like, "We'll get back to you." So for like 2 or 3 weeks, I didn't hear anything from them. And then they turn around, they come out there, and I'm like, "Wow, 2.5 years or 2 years work for these people." And then they came back to me and like, "All right, we'll give you the contract. You have 6 weeks to finish it." And it's like right in the middle of holiday season, which meant I had like zero time on the weekends because they were all committed to go to family. I nearly wet myself. I was like, "Are you kidding me? I'm excited." But then all of a sudden you give it to me the worst. Oh, by the way, I got deathly ill in the middle of that. I forgot to mention that last time. I got deathly ill. So I'm sick, on like dealing with family, and I churned out that book in 6 weeks.
Jeez.
But I got the contract.
Now, JD, did you have?
It just totally vaporized.
It happens, dude. More than we'd like to admit.
Something I actually remembered I wanted to bring up earlier, but by the time I remembered it, we moved past it. But with what you just said, it not only reminds me of it again, but allows me to kind of stick it in some. Earlier, when you were talking about for a writer, you just need to write, basically just to do it. And it's interesting that you got the book contract about around, because I think you said it was about around like October, November.
Yep.
It's funny because November is National Novel Writing Month.
Yeah.
Or NaNoWriMo, as it's more commonly known. And the whole premise is basically to try to, I think it's 50,000 words. I think the quote unquote goal is 50,000 words from November 1st to November 30th or 31st, whatever November's last day is, I don't remember. Is to do basically 50,000 words to try to write a small novel. And of course, you've got people that have tips and programs even and whatnot to try to help you with that. And I remember when I first heard about it, it was like Liz and I both were like, who would be knucking futz enough to try that? And then she actually did try it. There was a span there. She was doing it every year. I even took my hand in it every now and then. And here you are, family, and the reason why they do November is because of the holidays. And and the whole point is just to try to pick the worst month to try to crank a book out in and to do it.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Either that or December.
Yeah, and here you are, because there's also another one. It's called like Naga Demon, which is supposed to be like National Game
Yeah.
Design Month, which I know we've done on Rho Pi before. But here you are, with the holidays, with the um um holidays, family, work, and sick, which we didn't know about
Oh,
before.
yeah,
And you
no.
still banged this whole freaking
You
book
have
out.
you got look, man. I was for a period of time there. I was probably clinically insane. Like I honestly, for a period of time there, I'd lost it. I wasn't sleeping. I was barely eating. I was just writing.
Oh, that's dedication. I mean,
Well,
one of my favorite authors, Chuck Wendig, got his start with White Wolf and World of Darkness, and yeah, his big mantra in all his kind of how to write has been exactly what you've said. Put your butt to seat, pen to paper,
It, it's a,
and
and
it's
actually,
amazing how that helped. Like it works.
didn't Chuck Wendig actually just produce? He's now publishing like some of the new Star Wars novels for now that Disney owns and has reset kind of the expanded universe.
yeah, he's got a trilogy that he's doing. I've got Aftermath. There's two more coming out after that. Unfortunately, I've been too busy as a student to try to keep up though.
But yeah, well, it's kind of interesting, to me to hear of what I would say a famous writer, author that got his start with a gaming company. Because you said he got started with White Wolf.
Well, hopefully,
Yeah.
I will be able to repeat that success.
As to say, there is hope for you yet, sir.
There is hope. Hope springs eternal. Actually, and I put up a Facebook post, and I kind of surprised some people. When I was talking about, because I briefly talked about my writing career, and I actually started by writing poetry. Believe it or not, that's actually where I got my start.
Huh.
When I decided to write, and there's a reason, because poetry doesn't have as much. There's not as much regulation in grammar and syntax or whatever. It's a lot more free form, but also. As I put in one of the posts, I said a poet can say in a few lines what an author, a novelist, requires a chapter, and a technical or an academic writer requires an entire volume.
Hmm.
And poetry is imagery and language. That's what it really is. You're not conveying an idea so much as you're conveying an emotion and an image and a visceral experience. It's designed to evoke more than just your brain. It's designed to elicit a response in your body and in your soul and whatever. And it also requires a different set of skills. So I really started with that. I've done, as Byron knows, because you were there in graduate school. I've done technical writing, like academic writing, game writing, obviously. So I've worked very hard to do different kinds of writing, but my start actually was in poetry because I felt that it was I needed to learn how to write in such a way to engage on multiple levels. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
While I don't always get the imagery of poetry, I understand that it is a very condensed and image specific medium. As far as the use of words.
Actually, it's one of the reasons I hated it in college, where they would always take poetry and dissect it.
Yeah.
By rhyme and meter and all sorts, and it always irked me because it's designed to elicit an experience, and when you start breaking it down by its meter and rhyme and all sort of stuff, it's very much like you see a beautiful fish in the water, a gorgeous fish, and you want to understand the beauty of the fish. So you take it out of the water, you kill it, you fillet it, you lay out its bones, you diagram it, whatever, and then you end up having volumes of information about its structure, its environment, all sort of stuff. But the beauty of the fish is gone.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel how poetry is often handled in academia. And I'm like, look, instead of asking me to break this thing down by rhyme and meter, why don't you ask me how it made me feel? So, but
yeah, it's better to ask what is the qualitative purpose of this than what is the quantitative.
Yes, and believe it or not, and so that translates directly into writing. I mean, writing, and I'm talking about fiction and even game writing. Because you're trying to elicit a response. You're trying to engage. When you're creating a world for your players, you want it to be a visceral, living thing, right?
Yep, definitely.
To engage on multiple levels, and having an understanding of poetry and how language can be used to convey, because poetry teaches you that words are not created equal. That words, even though they may mean the same thing generally, the specificity can completely change the tone or the feeling or the reaction of a sentence. And yeah, obviously you put the comma in the wrong place, and it changes. You're going to dinner with someone versus you're actually eating that person. But,
yeah.
But the choice of language, the words you use, do they rhyme? Do they not rhyme? Which adjectives, which adverbs, the structure of the sentence. Not necessarily grammatically, but I'm talking about just the way it flows can completely change the tone of your work. And you don't learn that outside of, in my opinion, really outside of poetry. So that's another thing. If you want to write, try different styles of writing. Write a limerick, for Christ's sake.
I actually did that a couple of times at
yeah, I wrote a limerick for you, dude.
What?
Was it dirty?
On the road to Abrix?
Oh yeah. Well, no. See, I don't classify that as limerick. That's a song, damn it.
Well, it was
because you actually put it to melody, so
yes,
that's not a limerick. That was a song.
It was a limerick put to melody.
And I still want to record you doing that at some point too. Do it,
yeah,
to do that one again.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got to pull it out, and we got to do that. I want to get someone to actually do that professionally, because I think that would be freaking awesome. Anyway.
As I say, I mean, not saying we can't do it ourselves. Damn it! What was that, JD?
I was gonna say so. Where were we?
I say you all got on a tangent a bit.
Yeah, we.
And this time it wasn't me.
Ooh, shiny dice. What? Are there? I mean, other than this whole Shine Tar, Savage Worlds thing, what other games or systems are you kind of into right now?
So I got my start in D6. I got my start with Byron in D6. Star Wars.
Well, as I say, okay, if you're going to start off like that, you better answer the question then.
All right, the question. How did I get into gaming? And we'll go over this before. We'll try to be a little bit more streamlined. I got into gaming because of Byron. There you go. And now hang on a second. A close friend of ours still argues this point, and he's kind of right. The first character sheet I ever created was for Palladium's Rifts, but I never played that character and still haven't.
Ah.
And it was at RMA.
Who is it that argues that?
I don't remember. I just remember creating this stupid Rifts character, and I never played it ever. I have played I've play tested the new Savage Worlds Rifts, but I've never played Palladium's Rifts, even though that was the first character sheet.
Huh.
However, the first game I ever played was with Byron, D6 Star Wars, and we played at Randolph-Macon Academy. We played in the disciplinary room on Byron's Hall, and Byron and I met at a basketball game.
Because it was empty.
Yeah, because it was empty.
Not because one of us was in there.
Well,
that happened later.
That happened later. Like not at that point. But no, Byron and I met at a game, or I met at a basketball game, and I was a huge fan of Star Wars from childhood. And Byron's like, "Have you ever played Star Wars RPG?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You want to?" I'm like, I'm trapped at school. There's nothing better to do. And so I joined him in the disciplinary room with a couple other kids, and created a character named Miguel, Jedi. And it spun wildly out of control.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah, I know, right? It was like a virus or a fungus or whatever took over my life. It was like kudzu took over my life. But yeah, no, we started playing Star Wars D6 within 3 months. I was behind the GM screen. I remember my first game. I also remember the first time I ran games. That was in Byron's room, actually. We were actually playing in his room that night. And Byron had been encouraging me, and I went from playing for the first time to running in 3 months' time, which is about one of the shortest I've ever heard. Transition from player to GM, and I was hooked. Like, and I played Star Wars D6, Star Wars D20, and Star Wars Sagas, and I was more or less a one-trick pony all the way up into college and up into my senior year of college. I really didn't play much other than Star Wars in whatever incarnation. But at Taikis, I started playing Shadowrun. I started playing Legend of the Five Rings. I'd gotten into the card game already, and so the transition from the card game to the role-playing game was not that big a leap. And I started dabbling in other systems, and they just sort of began to explode. Then I got into graduate school, and again, I was continuing to run Star Wars, but then Byron moved down, and then Byron was into D&D, and Byron was into this, Byron was into that. Oh, in college, I played my first real D&D games, which was interesting. I played a Forsaker, who despises magic, Byron. Anyway,
Yes.
I played him really well. So...
Yeah, I actually do have a Forsaker character myself. Thank you very much.
Oh, dude, I love the class. But anyway, let's not get on that tangent. But no, so as I moved through the career, my senior year in college, I was the president of the gaming association, which forcibly made me get involved in other systems. Then in graduate school, Byron came down, and again, I got involved in other systems. And then leaving graduate school, my first year out of graduate school, I kind of had a lull in gaming. Mainly because, I just gotten married, brand new job, like, you know what I mean? That like life happened, but I was still running games online, Star Wars. Then I got down to Florida, and I dabbled there, but it wasn't really until I got back to Georgia that things exploded because, I'm older, wiser, start going to Taikis on a regular basis, doing playtesting, all kinds of games. Then, of course, I got into Shinetar. So for me, it was started with one system, one setting actually, and has slowly but surely branched out. And at this point, I've play tested. I've played a ton of different games, but usually in one-offs. But Byron got me into AOSA. By the way, speaking of which, other than going to Dragon Con, Byron is also responsible for getting me involved in the convention grind. So thank you for that too.
You are welcome.
Starting with the AUSA, which also introduced me to more games. So yeah, Byron, you're doubly to blame for this crap.
Happily so.
I said it's always Byron's fault.
It really is. Like when you trace it back, Byron was there at the beginning for a lot of this.
Well, actually, because I got you into gaming, I got you into conventions. I'm pretty sure I got you into podcasting.
Completely.
Which now you've turned on me and won't let me stop.
Ever. You'll be podcasting from the grave. That would be awesome, but never mind.
Thanks.
We need to pre-record. We need to pre-record 20 episodes, and then have a friend or someone or one of our kids to continue posting it, but pretend post our deaths. Post our deaths, but keep releasing it, but never explain how that happens, and pretend as if it's us just doing it.
Oh, come on, like Tupac or Prince.
Yes.
Gods.
By then, we'll be able to have the technology. So in the podcast, we'll be able to reference our deaths.
Anyway. All right. I think we're going to need to start wrapping this up here soon. JD, so what?
I let JD ask a question, but I did want to finish up with the same thing I finished up last time.
Hopefully it won't cut out like it did last time.
So what are your future plans? I mean, you have a little one. I mean, you're going to get her into gaming also, or?
So it's interesting about that. Actually, that's a fantastic question. I get that asked that a lot, believe it or not, considering how busy or how big I am in the gaming industry. And the thing is like she has toy dice. I recently got her a bag to put them in, the whole 9 yards. However, I'm a reenactor, Civil War reenactor, artillery. I'm into writing, I'm into soccer, I'm into martial arts, I'm into gaming, all this stuff. Every facet, all of my hobbies are going to be perfectly open to my daughter. I will sew dresses for her and take her to reenactments. I will, I'll make a character for her at the gaming table. I'll bust out my martial arts. I mean, whatever my daughter wants to do. But the key here is this. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're gonna raise a gamer. I'm like, no, I'm gonna raise an amazing girl, who, if she decides to game, I will support her and I will open whatever doors necessary. But if she never games a day in her life, that is perfectly fine with me. My wife doesn't game. She's done it occasionally. She can. She's a good gamer when she does, but she has other interests. I really want my daughter, speaking of that in particular, I want my daughter to follow her passions, to do what she wants to do, because my father has been unbelievably supportive of me. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for him. And I want to be that. And he doesn't, my father doesn't game. He has no interest in gaming, probably never will. But he made sure that because I had a passion for it, that he has done everything to make sure that my dreams came true. And my goal is for my daughter the same thing. That being said, if she's a little gamer, I would love it. I already have dice and everything for her. But my future plans, first of all, to finish up the books for Savage Mojo, for Shinetar specifically, and to increase my role with each one while I'm honing my craft, to launch a couple successful Kickstarters for them, and to get contracts for other books outside of Shinetar to prove to them that I can write not just Shinetar material, but any material. And then
which I'm going to be freaking using that shit. So.
Right. Then I have some game ideas myself, which I've broached. I'd like to release my own settings, my own systems. Moving forward from that, I'd like to do some fiction, actual writing, some fiction, some books. I'd like to write for Savage Mojo to write some Shinetar novelettes, and then eventually move into my own fiction. And then my goal is to eventually make my name as make my bones being a writer. I'd like to eventually go to conventions and have people be like, "Hey, you're Howard Brandon, aren't you? I love what you wrote." I'd love to walk across a convention floor and have someone call me out, some random stranger call me out and say they loved some piece that I had written, or some book or some setting. That's my goal.
I'm glad you made the addendum of some random stranger, because otherwise I would try to go to a convention and pretend to be a rabid fan.
I really
are.
Yeah.
What?
You already are. You are like the what is Fred's last name for the dude that writes Dresden?
Oh my God, the Evil Hat.
Yes.
Why am I blanking on his? Oh my God, I feel like such a putz now.
I think your wife would have a problem with that.
Well, we interviewed him.
I know.
Jim Butcher?
No, not Jim Butcher, but a friend of his who's actually head of Evil Hat Publishing that does the Dresden RPG. He's actually good friends with Jim Butcher.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, welcome back.
Oh my God, she's been back, dude.
While you're trying to figure out that, and now you're going to be searching in our archives, but no, my goal is to become an industry standard. Incidentally, I actually have a goal for my writing. Not just my writing, but my whole persona in the gaming industry, and it's actually not to be the best, believe it or not.
Hicks, Fred Hicks.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Hey, Fred Hicks.
I feel like such a fucking schmuck because you
need to send him an email right now apologizing, and he'd have no idea why.
Oh, you know what? I just might. That might be punishment enough because, frickin'. I've said it on more than one occasion. Interviewing him has been one of the biggest feathers in Rho Pi's cap.
You totally just forgot his name.
I'm horrible with names to begin with, but Oh my god.
But anyway, my goal is not to be the best writer, but my goal is to be the most reliable guy in the industry.
That's a tall order there, dude. I know you can do it, but that's a tall order.
I want to be the guy. I'm going to be the go-to guy when you're in a pinch. I want to make deadlines and always have quality work. I may not be the smartest, the best, the fastest, whatever, but I want to be the guy that you always go to because you know I will come through for you with high-quality work. And that's my goal. And I think it's achievable because everyone's like, I want to be the best. I'm like, you know what? Being the best is overrated. Being the most reliable, that's the guy who gets the contracts.
The really sad part about that is, dude, is knowing you for as long as I have, and especially at RMA and whatnot, you could be the best.
Possibly.
But no, nothing possible about it. I know you've got it in you. But the thing is that you don't have that ambition. You're always happy to be the one, to the side, behind the throne, to the side of the throne, even though, okay, flat out, all right, in my opinion, you could be on the throne doing better than who's on the throne right now, but you're always happy to be off to the side and let someone else actually take the full credit and whatnot, even though, I realize it's just part of just who you are, but
being at the top's overrated, dude. It really is. Besides, it's a whole lot of hassle. And there's always someone gunning for you. Nah, dude. But you're all right. You got me pegged.
So, you taught me well.
I did want to. Like I said, I know we got to wrap up. I know this has already gone too long, but I did want to say this last thing because I feel it's like one of the most important things.
All right.
And a serious. We always like to end on a deep moment, and here we go. 3 years ago, or actually, sorry, 5 years ago. My apologies. 5 years ago, I came to a crisis of conscience, and I mentioned this last time. I was doing. I had yet all of this stuff about writing for Savage Mojo, and I had not met Sean Fan in it, and I was doing the convention grind. I've been working toward a goal to be a writer, of any kind, and in particular for the industry for a decade, with zero traction. Which means at this point in my life, I had wasted. Well, I hadn't wasted, but I had apparently wasted a decade of my life struggling for something that, at that point, did not appear to be going to ever happen. And I was doing some writing, doing some fiction, doing some writing for my games, doing some other little odds and ends, and I was trying to get people to read them. And the truth of the matter is it's really funny when it comes to any sort of craft, and artists will tell you the same thing. I think is that until you become known, no one cares.
Just about.
Right, like, I mean, there's certain authors and artists or whatever who they can, at this point, can do. Actually, and I was because I was talking to someone about the poetry. Once I become famous, I could probably publish my poetry, but right now, if I tried to publish my poetry, no one would buy it. Before she became famous, the lady who created Harry Potter, I bet you.
Oh, J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling. How many authors have been rejected from I've been rejected tons of times until they became famous, and now they can write anything, and people will clamor to buy it. Well, that's kind of the way it is. Until you make it, you can't make it. So about 5 years ago, I was trying to. I mean, my wife doesn't read science fiction or fantasy, and she's not a gamer, as we've already mentioned. And she really, she supports me. She always has supported me, as have my family and most of my friends. But even my friends, even the ones in gaming, and we're all busy. We all have lives. And getting people to read your stuff, Byron, getting people to read and comment on your stuff, would you not say it's difficult? Dude, have I dropped again?
No, I think.
Sorry.
Byron dropped.
No, I didn't drop. Liz came in and I muted, and my quick key wasn't working the way it should.
But
sure.
So
blame it on the wife.
Yeah, always.
You know what? Anyway.
But Byron, you have yourself tried to get people to read your stuff and comment and whatever, and would you not say you've had difficulty?
Okay, not only have I had difficulty, but twisting this a bit in the terms of every time I game, I try to get feedback. I try to do GBUs, good, bads, and uglies. I know we've gone over them in game before, and I am always of the opinion there is always something that I can improve on because I know I'm not perfect. I've got a lot of people that say I'm a damn good GM, and I accept that, but I know I'm not the best because I know there are people like Howard that
we'll argue that
another time that can do better than me, and so I'm like, okay, good, bads, and uglies, and I try to always say the bads should be something that's within my control as a GM, and a lot of times, my players are just like, flat out, they're just like, I can't pick a bad, or oh, the weather, and I'm just like, mother, it's just like, really.
Well,
so yes, I can definitely sympathize and empathize in the terms of trying to get someone to give me some feedback I can use to try to make myself better.
Well, 5 years ago, I reached a crisis of conscience, where I was basically sitting on my computer, and I don't remember exactly what caused it. It was a collection of things, but I came dangerously close to quitting writing. Period. I was very close to putting down my pen, closing the laptop, and never writing again. And the problem is with me is if I make a vow like that, I stick to it.
Yeah.
And I came really close to quitting writing forever because no one cared. I'm sitting there writing in a vacuum, pouring my heart and soul into this, and nobody cared. Not no one cared, but I got no feedback. No one, and I really honestly felt that, is anyone ever going to pay to read my stuff, or is anyone ever going to show enough interest, or to download my stuff for free to read it? I mean, not even pay for it. So I came to a point in my life where I just was like, you know what? What's the point? What is the point in all this stuff if it doesn't ever matter? If no one's ever going to read it, if I'm never going to get paid, if I'm never going to, less than getting paid, if no one's ever going to care about anything that I write, why am I writing it? And that was the moment where I realized it's weird how when you get to the lowest lows, you find the strength and for me, a thought occurred to me. And this was the thought. And this is what I wanted to say. And then we can, I'll shut up and you can do whatever you want. But the thought was, why am I writing? Like, really, why am I writing? And I mentioned last time a line from the Whoopi Goldberg the Sister Act. In the second one, she was talking to the girl, trying to encourage her to come back to singing in the choir, and she's like, if you wake up in the morning and all you think about is singing, and if you go to bed at night and all you think about is singing, and everything in between you're thinking about singing, you're meant to be a singer. And the same is true for any passion. Gaming, writing, art, whatever it is, you bakery, like cupcakes, it doesn't matter. Whatever your passion is, if that's what you think about, if that's what drives you, do it. To hell with everybody else. And that's what I realized. I realized I'm not writing for you, and I'm not really even writing for money. The fact that I'm a paid author is one of the most amazing things in my life. But I don't write to get paid. I don't even write for anyone else. I write because that's what I love doing. I love writing, and I have stories inside me clawing to get out, that if I don't write them, if I don't have an outlet, it'll eat me alive from the inside. And Byron, you've always talked about how many universes are flowing in your head, and if you stop for a split second, you've got another one, and you've got so many ideas bursting to get out that you have to run them, you have to share them. Well, same thing for writing. And 5 years ago, I set my pen down to never pick it up, and then I realized that at the end of my life, if I looked back and I'd spent the entire time writing and it never amounted to anything, would I have continued doing it? And when I answered that question, yes, I knew I was going to be a writer. And so for anyone out there who wants to write or draw, sing, write music, whatever it is your passion, if you can honestly say to yourself that if you guys at the end of your days and you looked back and it never amounted to anything commercially, if only your small circle of friends, or maybe not even that, if maybe only even, if you never became successful as far as society is concerned, but you enjoyed it, it fulfilled you, it sustained you, and you were happy doing it, and you can look back, then whatever it is, that's what you're meant to do. And if you, conversely, if not, you may not. I mean, that's the kind of love and passion and dedication you have to be able to get through the dark times. And for me, that was writing. 2 years afterwards, I met Sean Fannin. But I never would have met him. I never would have become a writer. I never would have gotten paid. I never would have joined Seven Mojo. And any other future adventures and successes in my life would never have occurred if 5 years ago I had not picked up my pen and realized that I write for me. So there you go.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
I feel like the end of one of those sports movies where they give the great speech and it's just kind of like, okay, where's the box of tissues, man?
For you.
So what?
I said we could chant for you. So Rudy, Rudy.
Word. No, I mean, I personally felt like I got.
I've never been spontaneously chanted in my life, so thank you for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. There's always a first time for everything.
And I mean, you know, like, I feel like I got nothing to add to that. I got nothing really to say. I almost feel like if I open my mouth, I'm gonna fucking ruin this. But
really,
you know what?
Podcast, dude. No, it's your podcast. Everything that happens here is because of you.
Well, partially.
Good or bad, you have to accept them both.
Well, as to say, partially because you're the one, you know, holding the gun to my head now.
Actually, no, I have never pulled a gun on Byron, but metaphorically, he is correct.
I was gonna say steak knives are another matter.
Steak knives are entirely another matter.
Yeah, very much so. But anyway.
here's the thing, Byron, and we have for each other and for our other friends, will always be the one to help them reach their passions. You have done so much for me. Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. And I will always owe you for that. And every time you come up with some wild idea, like, hey, we ought to do a podcast. Hey, I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Because there's got to be people in our lives that are willing to support us no matter what.
Yeah. See, now I need a box of tissues, you schmuck.
You know, I was talking about the other podcast, that I'm doing a webcomic series. I'm working on that, and actually, I sent you guys some images for that.
I remember that.
One of my players, is in art school in Atlanta, and he came to me and he's like, "I'd like to do this professionally. I'm a good writer. I'm a good artist, but I don't know how to do any of the other stuff. And he lives in Madison, Georgia, with no internet at his house, completely cut off from the world. He's like, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. And he said, I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. And I said, fine. I said, you're one of us. We'll make it happen. And so now I am, making contacts. I'm trying to find other artists. I'm trying to, I'm looking into web hosting. I'm doing all this stuff for him because it's his passion to draw. And I want him to feel loved and supported and helped all the way along, just like you helped me, and I've helped you, because
Howard,
that's what it takes. Yes,
that's amazing. No, really.
That's Howard.
Howard, tell him to contact me.
I will.
Okay, and I will help him also.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
But that is what it takes, because. And I'll say one other thing. I'm sorry. I have to say this. In graduate
My
school,
podcast, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
In graduate school, I met a woman who was in a bad situation in life, and we were hanging out or whatever. And after a while, she finally, she's like, it took me forever to figure out why you kept hanging out with me, why you kept encouraging me, why you kept helping me. And she said, at first I thought it was the same reason that, people always think someone from the opposite sex is showing interest in them. And she's like, but after a while, I realized it was because you really wanted me to succeed. And I'm like, because everyone needs someone in their life who will love them and support them unconditionally. And it doesn't have to be a family member. It doesn't have to be a spouse, even though it's nice to have spouses that are that way. But I have seen the transformational change that one person believing in you can have. It happened for me, and it can happen for other people. And all these memes where like just one person can change a life. Man, you have no idea what it means for an artist, for author, for anyone, that if they come to you with that look of that almost puppy love in their eyes for whatever it is they're doing there, and they look at this, look what I did, and for you to take and go, that is awesome. How can I help you be successful? Doing that for one person can change their life forever, and it did for her. Because it starts the snowball effect. Conversely, man, like I said 5 years ago, all it takes is for someone to say, "Man, who cares?" to crush somebody, and that's and having been on the bad end of that stick, not gonna happen. People come to me, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to make sure their passions become realized, because we need a lot more of that in this world.
Exactly. Yeah. I completely agree, and that's also the reason why I do what I do, is because people should be encouraged, with positivity and everything. Because some people there's always something that they're good at, and that if they have a passion, it should be pursued.
Y'all gotta make me feel like schmuck.
Why? Why?
You're a schmuck, but we love you.
Thank you, JD. Thank you.
See, Byron, you say that, but the thing about it is again, literally, I am here doing what I am doing.
He sure is.
Okay, I missed part of that, but
no, because you and I met in high school, and you were like, "Hey, you want to play some Star Wars?" I'm here today. I would not be working for Savage Mojo if I wasn't doing the conventions at MomoCon. I did the conventions at MomoCon because the conventions you got me into at AUSA, and I wouldn't even be gaming if you hadn't got me into it in high school. Rather than being a schmuck, I mean, you have been an inspiration all this time. We're doing this podcast. Who are we going to touch? Who are we going to help in this podcast that otherwise might not have gotten to start because other podcasts are too big or too whatever? Because we're never going to be that way. You and me, anyone who wants to come on this podcast, promote themselves as a gamer and share their passion, we're going to give them a shake, right? Always. We always have. We always will. And who knows who will not be inspired by this podcast? All because you had a wild idea like 7 years ago. Like, hey, Howard, I want to do a podcast. And I wasn't even that involved in it back then. But I helped you out.
It was Liz and I at first.
But you came to me with the idea, and the Rho Pi Gamma, the name, all that sort of stuff. Why? Because we help each other, and we help other people. And that's what this podcast is about, helping gamers.
I'm done. Make me fucking cry, man. Jeez.
We got to wrap this up, dude, because we can continue this all day.
Yeah. So, anyway, let's get some dick and fart jokes in here or something. Jeez. To quote Kevin Smith. Damn, Howard, motherfucker. All right. So, anyway, I have a feeling season 7 is going to be a fucking lot like this. Good grief. Not sure if that's a good thing or not. We'll have to find out.
Better strap in.
So what?
I said you better strap in.
Yeah, apparently.
God, your accent's beautiful. I'm sorry.
I said the same thing when I first talked to her.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
You say certain things, and I hear the Irish, and it's just amazing.
Anyway. If our listeners have any questions, comments, concerns, what the fucks,
I'm sure there will be plenty of those.
Well, I wish. I hope. Unfortunately, we don't tend to hear from our listeners much, but hopefully with a lot of the new changes and whatnot and where we're going, that hopefully that'll change.
Absolutely.
So, but there's email, there's the blog. I'm sure there's going to be comments available on the posts at the new website.
Absolutely. There's also Facebook and Twitter and a
Well,
lot of social media cross-posting.
As I say, I have to
hopefully
log.
soon some iTunes.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah,
it will be available on iTunes for download, so no one has any excuses not to listen to Rho Pi Gamma.
You see what I was saying about her earlier?
I know, right?
And of course, she said there. It's like, yeah, there'll be Twitter, there'll be this, and I'm sitting thinking, I'm like, do I even remember the logins for our freaking Twitter account? It's been like 6 months. So anyway, please get in touch with us. Again, questions, comments, concerns, suggestions. So long as it's gaming related or about the pod, be more than happy to.
Absolutely. And if the new website is available by this podcast, if there's any website issues or suggestions, please contact me.
And I will have her preferred contact info. Well, I'm sure she can put the contact info on the site. She's the one building the site.
Sure, why not?
I'm so used to being the one that actually does all of that with this now. I'm kind of like, what the fuck am I doing now?
Idle hands.
Well, yeah, there's something to be said about that too, I suppose. Anyway, hopefully we will. Now we won't be starting a call for heroes for another couple of weeks because I still have some stuff to do with that to get that ready to go. So it'll be Howard and I doing some topics. I know I got an email about something from previous a friend of a friend. Apparently listens to the podcast and had a bit of a gripe to me about something I'd said once. Actually, I think it was about 4th edition, and then said something that to him pretty much sounded the same thing, but I was praising it in Pathfinder, and I'm going to set the record straight on that one.
Ooh, nice feedback. I like it.
Yeah, it was actually like bad. It was kind of like, oh, he said this, and then he said this. It's like, what the hell? And I'm just like, and Tim, it was Tim was the one that brought it to me, and he was just like, don't be mad, don't kill the messenger, and he shot it to me, and I was like, dude, that's fucking brilliant. I'll be more than happy to cover that shit because I know exactly what he's talking about. So, and I know I got some topics and whatnot, and also I want to actually do a review of Roll20, Howard, before we actually start doing a call for heroes, because we're going to be doing a call for heroes on Roll20, and I kind of want
I'll be happy.
to do a review of Roll20 so that those listen to the podcast and hopefully the players will know what the is going on in Roll20 before the game starts. So, which is always helpful. So, anyway, I have been your GM Byron.
I have been your co-host JD.
And of course, thank you, Howard and Shella, for joining us and for this is I would say this is definitely going to be a good kickoff for season 7. So
I get to be a special guest.
Yes, Howard,
Thank
you're very
you.
special.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, happily, this is the least I could do considering.
Yeah, we'll actually have to do a more fuller interview later, I guess.
Yeah, we can still do that, but especially once we get the site actually, like, the new site up and going. So
We can do that, sure.
Alright, well, again, thank you all for joining us this week. Hopefully you'll all be joining us next week. Blah, 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 blah. As I get tongue-tied. And just remember the motto of Rho Pi Gamma is roll high, play well, die hard.
Die hard.